Huh? Okay, we're starting is Gimel.
What is Gimel?
Yuven Zeh, Kuf Samaches. What is Gimel? Yuven Zeh, this will understand. Al Piyam Avur Ba Maimir says all these questions that he asked about Khamsha Sabov. Started its Maimir Khamsha Sabov around. He asked many questions. Why is it like in Kippur greater even than all the three Yom Tovim, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot? And he answered that you read the Tzerich Aliyah, since it comes Aliyah La'achar, the Aliyah itself is on Tu B'Av, right after the Yeridah of Tisha B'Av, therefore it's the greatest Aliyah. So he asked before that the Yom Tovim, Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos is Minat Torah. How could it be greater? Also he asked, why is it greater than Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur is Yeridah, it's Aliyah La'achar Yeridah. Why is Chamisha B'Av greater even than Yom Kippur? Yuvan Zeh, this one understand. According to what it's explained in the Maimir Pirish Hakoso, Yisin Eretz Bakeli Melech L'Sod Nevad. It says the pasuk that Yisin Eretz is in everything. Melech L'Sod Nevad. The Pashto Hakoso is saying that even the king needs a field. But he's going to explain the different lashenis of Eretz and Soda. So he says Eretz Uklol, that's the whole world. Soda Mufchor Shabbat, it's a field which is the most precious place in the ground, in the earth itself. Who Gan Eden? That's Gan Eden. And he says there's a difference. Where do we make this difference? Why is there this difference between the whole world and Gan Eden? That you call them different names is because they have a different sheish. What's the difference? It's how say the world's created from the Dibur of Malchus. The Dibur, the words, the speech of the Eibishter. Gan Eden mebchinas Gimel Rishein is the Malchus, Primus HaMalchus, the Isnazes of Malchus, the Etzem of Malchus, the Mechen of Malchus. Shenikra Soda. That's the name of Soda. K'mavur Ba'amayim, like explained in the Maimir. Shadibur the Malchus, the words of Malchus, Asar Mamor Shebehem Nivrei Elam, in Yonehu Lahavis Esanivroim. Why is it here the speech? In order to create creations. Its whole being is in order that the creation should come about. Just like a person's speech is for someone else. If not for someone else, he would never speak. If there wouldn't be a Zulas in the world, he wouldn't speak. You can always question that people speak for themselves. They want to gain for themselves. But in the end of the day, if there wouldn't be a Zulas, they wouldn't speak. Even the Amorat, that Meret Areis it calls the person, it makes him more concentrated on what he's learning. So it's explained that that's also the Zula Shabbat, so to speak. He went out of he's not concentrating, he went away somewhere else, part of him. So he calls that part of himself back, that he should be focused, he should get involved. So Zula is in the person itself. The Gimel Rishein is the Malchus, so Pnimis HaMalchus, Shebekabel is being Yisayt. The Gimel Rishein is the Malchus, that's Pnimis HaMalchus, which receives from Yisayt, Shuhu Siyuma Atzilus, which that is the end of Atzilus. Siyuma de Gufa. What should Siyuma Atzilus? The Chor Malchus is the end of Atzilus. Or else he's referring to Pnimis HaMalchus Mekabel. When you say Shuhu, what's Shuhu? What's the who referring to? Shuhu Siyuma. Say Zo, it says Zo, safe, Elmain safe. Here he says Pnimis HaMalchus Mekabel. When you say Shuhu, what's he referring to? Who? You say it. Like it says in Tikkun Zeh, yeah, we say it. Why is Siyum Atzilus? Why not Malchus? Malchus already shares of Bia. She nicht allein Kamesha came being Yonei. Also is Shaykh says to something else outside of him. It's not himself. Shaykh he says there's still himself. Even he's going to say it, but Dumus Hamidish Ba'odam, the Gam Shem Shayachim Lahazula, it's just the emotions of a person. Which the lowest emotion is, you say, the connection. So still, but that what it's called Siyum Atzilus. Why? The Gam Shem Shayachim Lahazula. Although the whole midas are, you say, there's Mekabel from all the midas, and Yonim is Shayachim Lahazulas. Kuf Samachtas. Have the wrong Maimir? Yeah, the wrong Maimir. It's the wrong way. Here. Tagam sheikh mazulas, even though that the sheikh to the zulas, and yonam hu sha'adam miserim mispol. Although that they're sheikh to zulas, midas is sheikh to zulas, But the in of the midas is that the person is misayed mispot. It's not. It's taka about someone else. He's getting excited about someone else. But who's getting excited? He's getting excited. Ad kedei kach, that how do you define a person according to his midas? How do you know? What do you say? Who's this person? His emotions, his guter mensch, nicht kein guter mensch, whatever. It's all defining the person himself because it's he's sages. Although you could say by Dibur also he's speaking. Hodam medaber. But over there, at the end of the day, it's kol kuli is for the zulas. Mashenkin in midas, it's his definition, his description. Fine. So that's the difference between. That's the difference between Zon. That's the difference between Gan Eden and the world. That the whole world is mekabel from Chetzenis Malchus. Mashenkin the Mashenkin Malchus, Mashenkin Gan Eden is mekabel from Primis Malchus. Umeisi ba Maimer adds in the Maimer. This he goes in a higher plane. The Churah seemingly it's a shtickle. Not punkt saying the same thing like he said we just finished saying, but he says a step higher. A different advantage in Gan Eden over the whole world. The world gets amshocha from emotions of the Eibishter. Why? Why is it? The Churi just finished saying that Dibur is the mocker from the Elam. Now he's going to say amshocha be'elam mi'amidis. It's a shtickle, it's a sofa, but it's a shtickle, an under cooking. He connects it with what he said before, but it's a little different. Okay, we'll soon see. The Malchus mekabel me'amidis, because the words of Malchus, the words is mekabel from midis, from emotions. Even though a person could sometimes speak also seichel balzen. Even that is also coming from midis because he wants to speak. If he wouldn't want to speak, he wouldn't give over the idea either. So everything has to go through midas. The dibur is mekabel me'amidis. So Amshochav in the Welt is in midas. Amshochav Gan Eden is me'ameichen. Amshochav Gan Eden is from meichen. Kavur Shom, it's gimel reshenis is ein tachtenis. Sometimes it says. Kavur Shom, the zeh you say nikar b'shem koil. Why is he said called koil? Like it says kikil lechav ha'gdol v'ha'gur v'atveres v'anitzvah. Kikil b'shem word. So koil is referring to Yisayid. Why is it called koil? Yisayid. Because of this 50 shalibine, the nun shalibine which come into koil b'gematria nun. Yeah. So therefore, it has nun shalibine. Therefore, since we said before already, Gan Eden is from primus hamachas which receives from Yisayid already. The Yisayid Gan Eden gam hameichen. So through Yisayid, Gan Eden gets also the meichen. So the chetzenis, so the Welt is mekabel from Dibur, which is mekabel from Midas. Mashenkin the Yisayid, Mashenkin Gan Eden is mekabel from Yisayid, which is mekabel from primus hamachas, mekabel from Yisayid, which is mekabel the nun shalibine. So this is Meich and this is Midas. So Yisner it's Bakoili. Melchel Soden Nevad. So he says, now we'll understand what does it mean. Yisner it's Bakoili. The advantage of the Oretz is when it gets Koil. And Melchel Soden Nevad is another name. Yisner it's called Bakoil. I'm sure that's how you say it. The advantage in the Oretz is when it gains the Amshach of Yisayid. Like days Amshach Sameichen. And when you get in the world this advantage, Yisr Eretz, the Eretz gets a Yisr, a Maila of Koil, then then there'll be revelation of the Eibishter in the whole world, just like in Gan Eden. Comes out that here he's saying that only when you have the Amshach from Meich, and then you have Gilul Lakus in the world. Mashenkin, if you wouldn't have only from Amshach from Dibur of Malchus, which is Mekabel Taka from Midas, there's no Gilul Lakus in the whole world. The world is the Malchus is covering over on the Amshocha that's Nimshach in Malchus, on the Midas. As opposed to when you have the Amshocha from Yisner Eretz, Bakoil, what you say, then you have Meichin, then you have Gilul Lakus in the whole world, just like in Gan Eden. This is the level of Yisner Eretz Bakoili. Melchus Soden Nevadu. What does it mean, Melchus Soden Nevadu? It's Mishkosa B'Zeyar. Man Melech do Melchi Lo. This is who's Melch referring to Melchi Lo. This Chaber L'Sod Kadiyu Nevad. He connects to the field when it's worked over. Shaydei Avedim Gan Eden Soden Nevad Nasam Shochs HaKeser Melchi Lo Shalomayla Mishtalshlos. That when the sod is Nevad, then there's advantage in the sod that it nimshach from Melech. the Melech is the Gin of Keser. Melech Iloah. The ultimate Gin of Snasus, the Snas Remus of the Melech. Fine. So we have here the different way to look at Gan Eden and the rest of the world. And what's the advantage of Gan Eden and the rest of the world? That when it comes to Yisrin, a greater level, so by the order, the greater level is that it becomes like Gan Eden, that there's Gilul Kus in the rest of the world. In Gan Eden, when it comes to a greater level, in Aved in the Soda, Aved in the Gan Eden, it comes to the level of Keser. Varba Maimer explains further in the Maimer. Yeah, okay. Varba Maimer the Oz then Kshemeir b'Malchus HaKeser Shalomayel Mishtalshles. When in Malchus, in Pnimis HaMalchus, is Meir Keser, which is higher than Ishtalshles, Kai Mesir B'Shel Musa. Shemeir Gam B'Chetzenis HaMalchus. Then we have in Keser, in Malchus is Meir this Keser Shalomayel Mishtalshles. Then is the Sir is B'Shel Musa. Which means Shemeir Gam B'Chetzenis HaMalchus, it comes down also in Chetzenis of Malchus, not just like you said before, you understand before, that it's only in the Pnimis of Malchus, the Mocker of Gan Eden. It's Meir, when Keser is Nimshach, there's no word it's not Meir. Shemeir Gam B'Chetzenis HaMalchus, Dibur de Malchus, Asar Mamor Shebem Nivrei Elam, Vayidei Zeh Gam Be'elam, also in the world. And he explains, the Bamshach Shapi say the Shtalshles, if there's a regular Amshach of not for Melch Sodden Neva, that the Melch Law, the Keser is Nimshach in Sodden, when it's Neva, then Amshach Shapi say the Shtalshles, there's Shchil B'Pnim Samach Sodden, Chesed Samach Seretz. As the Melch Law is Keser. Keser comes into Malchus. Here he's speaking, Shamshach Shapi say the Shtalshles, when it's not Melch Sodden Neva. At first it starts on Pnim Samach, then it comes and trickles down into Chesed Samach, and noch in the Welt.
Why is it Chetzenis? If the Melech Sodden Nevad, if he's coming down, so it's Chetzenis.
He comes down into the world, to the Mokum of Chetzenis HaMalchus. The Ort was beschaffen a Welt, was es nicht Elikus. Dort neichen wird herzig Elikus. That's what it means. So this is the Pnimis. The Pnimis kommt on dort. You're saying, alles wird aufgeben.
Yeah.
It should lose its Metzias. So then it's not coming anywhere. It's like saying it's negating the Metzias from Welt. You're saying there's no Welt anymore. It's like saying Chibri Yichud Lo Yichud Tata. Is the Taisha's Welt Eis Yichud Tata?
No, but when you say Melech Sodden Nevad, it means that it goes in.
Sicher in Gan Eden is Herzog on Melech allein. Or the Rebbe is saying, being from the Rebbe Rashad, that it's Nimshach also to the rest of the world as well. Since it's Amshach from the Meil Mishtalshles, the Meil Mishtalshles hat sich kein Agboles, kommt er noch mit Also ich bin Matentere, in der Welt. Ein Sof sollen kommen in die Welt. Ich bin in die Welt. Es ist keine Welt. Ich tage, Sheli Zova, Eiflei, wie steht die Loschen dort? Sheli Go, Eiflei Zovach. Aber es ist gewähne Eif, es ist gewähne Ashes. Das ist der Metzies von Welt. Es kommt dann in Chetzenis Elam, in der Mokum von Elam. Was heißt, was sie gewähne Elam? Sie gewähne als Gan Eden, willst du sagen? Ich habe, du sagst. Alt wird Gan Eden. Alt wird Hecher. Alt wird nicht Welt. Okay. Beim Schach, ich say the Shtalshles, ich schilde bei Pnim Samach Soda, für Chetzenis Samach Eretz. In beim Schach, ich say the Shtalshles, then there's a difference between Pnim Samach Soda and Chetzenis Samach Eretz. That in Pnim Samach is more, and in Chetzenis Samach is less. Only from Midas, when Pnim Samach is from Mechin. Geen, כשהמשוך במערסים וכנסם, ולכן כשהמשוך במערסים וכנסם מייכן הגיל רק בהדרגת המערסים מקבלס מזו. Therefore, since say the Shtalsh, there's a difference. So when Amshach Malchus is from Mechin, which Mechin say the Shtalsh is Hagilu Irak Vadaga the Malchus Kabels Mizo Pnimis Malchus. It only comes into the level of Malchus, which is a Keli for him. Vadaga the Malchus Shishesh and Ibrahim Asar Mamors Ein Eir Meir. It doesn't come there. But Dugmus Halavanim is Man Pigimos. Just like the Lavanim, when it's missing, it's not shining everywhere. She'er Hashem Shmei Irak B'Chatzi Kadrel in Shabbat. So the same thing is here. When I'm sure it's from say the Shtalshles, it's going to have where it comes in Malchus, and where it doesn't come, it's not Meir B'Chlal. But if I'm sure HaKesed Shalom Ma'alim Shtalshles, Hagilu Gam Ba'asar Mamor Zol Yodem Gam Be'el. But when I'm sure it's from Kesed, when Melech L'Sod Neva, then it comes even to Asar Mamor Zol Yodem Gam Be'el. But Dugmas Halvarim Zman Amilui B'Emtza Chedesh She'er Hashem Shmei Gam B'Chatzi Kadar Atachn Shabbat. So it's everywhere. It comes everywhere. So there's nowhere it's not shining. Everywhere it gets. verflate, so to speak, with the reality of the Melech Law. Oh, so mit gehen am in letzten Schir, not letzten Schir, as Al-Khur, the Levone, the man from Pishamil, so bring the Kasha, was the man. Al-Khur, the Levone is always only half shining. There's no Ganzen. Other der allemal hal was connected the Shemesh, Mirzan, yeah. That's the man not saying.
Yeah, no, it was made this was made this more
Is a more that's it's sehr schwer zu verstehen, was sagt dort. Aber sagt wird einfach der Scheile. Effekt der Scheile, ja. Effekt der Scheile. Welche ist mit Science, der Repair Shamil zusammen sagt, hat man zwei Pack Khasa Pack Test.
Einmal da der Frage, warum da gedacht. Ich bin bei ihnen vorbei und sagen, und ganz hin von ich weiß nicht, wie die Scheile als mehr gut und nicht gerade dem Loschen die Scheile mehr gut gedacht. Was mit aber die Frage בכלל was größer können zum Mailer der wollen allemal Gott ist leicht Gott hat gesagt an dem Ziel von Sache ist ein Tachlis wie bald der Tachlis von der Levone ist beschas leicht weniger ist kilo der Levone ist kleiner und beschas wird geboren ist schon der Tachlis von jeder sagt Gott der Ziel von Sache ist ein Tachlis also was soll zu die Scheile als mehr die Gott sagt das gedenke ich mit der gesagt was mit mein Gott sagt
ist er so bepasst das was scheint zu uns, es kommt dann zum zum Welt, das Gezenis, das hat sich gerade tachten. Und das der Chiddisch, was mehr zur Welt. Das ist kleiner bepasst es. Jemand ist nicht mehr in der anderen Seite. Noch ein Scheil. Schade, Mili Alevone ist nicht mehr in der anderen Seite. Nur einhalb ist mehr.
Ja.
Ja. Seid gescheit. Lass uns gucken dort. Fine. Tzarich lahavin l'churein mi tayrech hu was the pshat mi tayrech hu shebchdei sheyis have seil mes nice mit l'sar ba malchus. As kedei welt ze kennen seine mit sie is muss sein nach sarn in malchus. Atos is es Hashemayim. Ato choser hei. Als der Eibischte, Kaviyachol, als ich mit Samsung gedei, so können gehen mal Ort, auf Welt, so können seine Metzir. Sheim da Zil, schon normal, im Sheish an Ivroim. Also uns mehr seine Malchus, der von Zil, das ist Heche von Sheish an Ivroim. V'ki, v'shem ganei mehr beginnes Kehl, ha Yised v'gam ha-mechin. Hare ein bechisoren. Bald, als in Ganei scheint der Dage von Kehl Yised. Nech, der Nun Share Bine, Bemele is dokke gesorn. Gebur ba Maimar that ham shganei nikr b'shem kel ki yesh behakel bli gesorn. Is Bemele Ganeden, there's everything there. There's nothing missing. A piece of nimtz shgam Ganeden alavona malchus b'shleimus. So it comes out according to this. As in Ganeden is alamod alavona gans. A piece of nimtz shgam Ganeden alavona malchus b'shleimus. Aber Maimar machine kein sie b'shleimus und darf gekshemel so the never should have veded nimtz behakel melch lo shalom al mishtalshlos. So you have to understand, why is it that we say that when is the moon complete? Only when Melchus Sodenav, when you have the Amshacha of L'maylam Seder Shtalshus. L'chura, if it's not being a source for the world, Malchus, it's the way it's higher than being a source for the world, it's always B'shleimus. So l'chura, even when Amshacha is Api Seder Shtalshus, in Gan Eden you have already Kaim Seder B'shlemusa. Why does the Maimar exclude and say, no, when you have the yin of Kaim Seder B'shlemusa, that the Levon is B'shleimus, is when nimshach the yin of Melech Law. That's the question. Shleimer Abir Bazeh. So the Rebbe answers, the Amit is the Kaim Seder B'shlemusa who? When's the true concept of Kaim Seder B'shlemusa? Shashleimus hi be'efen she'in shaykh she'ichsar. Not only but pale, it's here, it's complete, it has everything, it has all components, that's in such a powerful way that it's impossible that it shouldn't be missing anything. When you have such a concept, only when the air comes higher than Shach Leilumis. In the air Shach Leilumis, the air Shach Leilumis says the Rebbe Gam, Kedem HaTzimtzum, or Eir Kazeh Shach B'Tzimtzum. Even the Kedem HaTzimtzum, not about Meichin. Even if the Eish lived at Tzimtzum, but if it's Shaykh Leilamis, it's Shaykh Tzimtzum. But Lachein Hamshach the Prinskil Shub Gan Eden Afsh Hamshach Yibishleimus Kanal Ma'amar the Pirish Kilo Kahakel Blichsar. But Kim Hamshach Meir Mugbal Meichin Shaykh Shibi Tzimtzum VeHefsik Ein Mitzvah Shleimus. It's possible that it should be a Hefsik, so it's not true Shleimus.
Lachein, die Sache ist noch mehr Etzem Indien, als geht nicht weiter, als immer sehr Mugbal.
Yeah, aber beim Keime, der Wort von Atat Tetzave.
Ja. Das allein, was kommt die Ton, eure Ziels, und ich kann bald eure Ziels endlich sagen, Ziels,
Plat ups, da Mobile, ja. Stein Batzilus is Mobile, ja.
Ich was in Scharbach ist, ich habe schon so bringen, so viele andere Wörter.
A Mitzvah Shleim ist das wieder als der Ultimate, das ist doch kein Ort, wo es kommt nicht an. Ja, mit halt sich an, dass es ein Blickwohl. Ein Blickwohl, aber als es scheint, alle Kurse in sein Ort.
Das meint es ein Scheich.
Also bald sind wir es sagt, aber Mitzvah in der Keim ist hier bei Shlomo so, da wird der Mitzvah ist, when is the true concept that you say that the one is B'Shleim is when you have Teda Mitzvah, Shai Dezi Nim Shechera Bligol Eish L'mayla Meir Shashayich Leilam, and Shein Shayich Shibei Tzimtzum. It's impossible that there should be ever a Tzimtzum in this area. Melech L'Sodan Ev, the Shach of Melech Ilah. Fine, that comes this area. That the Melech Ilah, the Eish L'mayla Mishtalch, this is Meir, then it's not Shayich, that there should be any Chesorn. Since it's impossible, why is not Shayich? Because he's Bligvul, a Mitzvah Bligvul. Not just what the world could handle, not just what comes to the Fiyarech Eilam is, it comes not just a shaykh leilam is not just the fiyarech leilam. A shaykh leilam is the teaches that he had done kivyochel that there's an essence mokal mitzis leilam. So Mele is going to be mitzamsim himself, give him milam himself in order that the world should come to exist. Mashengim said the aid shalom milam is shaykh leilam is. There's no shaykhs for something other than the Eibishter. So Mele, it's a mitzvah bligvul. Mele, it's a mitzvah shleimus. Although before he called it Kesser, but here he's referring to the air, even the air Shalifnei Tzimtzum is also Mugbal. It's also not a mitzvah Shleimus. This is a good. Free to get that Melech L'Sodan Ev, this is the Melech Ilah, the of Kesser. Here he's saying that he's referring to the air Shalom Emes Kesser. The air Shalifnei Tzimtzum, air Shalifnei Tzimtzum Gufa.
Emes Kesser is nicht
Atik.
Das Emes Kesser.
Und das ist verbunden mit der Eish Lefetz zum Hecher Eish Shaykh Leilamas. Fine, okay. Hine mevur ba Maimer, the Sod Asher Berach Havaya, Shnei Pirush. It says in the Maimer, but another pasuk, it says the Sod Asher Berach Havaya is referring to Gan Eden. And this is two Pirush. He's going to say two Pirushim in the Sod. Shnei Pirushim. Pirush Rashi Shu Gan Eden. Pirush HaTayim Yenison Shuhu Beis HaMikdash. So what's Sod Asher Berach Havaya, or it's referring to Gan Eden, that in Gan Eden is a bracha, or it's referring to the Beis HaMikdash. Wur became is the Beis HaMikdash who can make Gan Eden, that in Beis HaMikdash had Tzachon Azei Vi Gan Eden. It's the Gan Eden of the world. Kamei Shuv Gan Eden Yesh Beis Madregas. Just like in Gan Eden there's two levels. There's Gan Eden Mitzad Atzmi, like we said before. Then the Tesis Eshen Nimshach B'Yadei Aveda. Then the Tesis which comes into the Beis HaMikdash through Aveda in the Beis in Gan Eden, through the Tesis that comes in Gan Eden through the Aveda in Gan Eden. That's the Melech L'Sodan Evad. Al derech zehu bebeis hamikdash. Same thing true in the beis hamikdash. The neis v'al gedish beis hamikdash b'tzad atzmei. In addition to the gil, the revelation wasn't the beis hamikdash on its own, because the holy space. The aveda bebeis hamikdash. The Rebbe even speaks about in the Gadol Yid that there's the mokam mikdash atzmei before the beis hamikdash. But here he's speaking about the gil beis hamikdash b'tzad atzmei to the beis hamikdash. The aveda bebeis hamikdash aved sakabonis here begili naili yeser. There's even a greater gilui. Just to be saved in the Gan Eden. According to what it says in the Maimon. When do we have the concept of Kaim Sir Bashlomusa is mainly through the Aveda Basada, Melech L'Sodan Evad, that only through the Aveda and Soda and Gan Eden comes the of Melech, the Gili of Melech, the of Lamayla Meseder Shtalshus. That causes Kaim Sir Bashlomusa movement that can make in Ugab and the Gila Beis HaMikdash. It's understood the same thing is true in regard to the Beis HaMikdash. In the Kaim Sir Bashlomusa Beis HaMikdash Mitzad Atzmei, this we say that there's Kaim Sir Bashlomusa in the Beis HaMikdash Mitzad Atzmei, Hein v'negei la'amok the Beis HaMikdash. The Shleis de Nasar Hedjit, yeah, it's the same idea, yeah. We mentioned before. So, Saib, they get to the Beis HaMikdash, the Mokum of the Beis HaMikdash. Shleis de Nasar Hedjit is not the regular place. Chein, as the man, the Beis HaMikdash, the Shleime, there, Tezvav, Lavram, Shos, Kaim, Yisir, Bashlam, Musa. And Tzai, when we speak about the time that the Beis HaMikdash was built, Shleima built the 15th generation, which then is Kaim, Yisir, Bashlam, Musa. Who, Dugmas, HaGilush, Begadim, Tzadatzmi. That all is the Gilu of, like Ganedim, Tzadatzmi. Even though it's very holy, but it's mugbal. It's soda. It's special, but it's mugbal. The Iker Kaim Yisir Bashlam Musa. The main Kaim Yisir Bashlam Musa Shai Beis HaMikdash Hu Shai Dei Aveda Beis HaMikdash Nimshach Beis Yisrael Shalamayla Mishtal Shmelchel Soda Nevad. And through the Aveda in the Beis HaMikdash comes the Teis Yisrael, which is Dafka Shalamayla Mishtal Shlos, which that's in a Melech Ilah comes into the Soda. Pizei Yishleimar the Agilu Shai Beis HaMikdash Mitzad Atzmei Hoysam Shechosei Rak B'Zman HaBayis. Now we could say that the revelation that there was in the Beis HaMikdash on its own, that only lasted for the time of the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Because it's not a mitzvah Kaim Yisrael Bashlam Musa. So it's not made everywhere and always. The Rebbe is going to write it. Kavur b'maymer shachiluk b'zman habayis zman hagol so bedung zachiluk shebin chatzik hadar elin dalavon and chatzik hadar atachn shabo. The difference of zman habayis and the zman hagolos is the difference of chatzik hadar elin and chatzik hadar atachn. Here is always made gili elikos. Mashengen and chatzik hadar atachn zman hagolos. There's a helam. V'lochin kim shagil shoy b'simim shb'tzadatz meir mugbul shemeir rak b'daga demach shem kabels mizo chatzik hadar elin dalavon. Hoysam shechosei rak b'zman habayis, just like in mocking. It's in Beis HaMikdash, as there is in Zman, it's only, when is it made? Only this Gilui, since it's not the ultimate bleak vul, so it's mugbal that it's only made in the Darge, that's Makabel from the higher level of Malchus, so too, it's only made also only in Zman HaBayis. This is the Kaim Yisir Bashlam Musa, Mitzad, Mokum HaMikdash, and the Zman Shenim the Beis HaMikdash. Aber in Teis Beis HaMikdash, the Aveda Sakarbonis, so there's Aveda Vaslim Mikdash, which is referring to, I guess, every person working in himself. Also the Vaslim Mikdash B'Seichom, Kim Sher Zehu Blik Vul Shein Shach Behefsek, since this is such a air, which is built in Mugbal, Hamshachosei Gam Bizman HaGols, this extends itself also to the time of goals. It doesn't stay only in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, since it's an air built in Mugbal, there's no, before we're speaking about space, here's about time. That there's no time where it's not made. So we should feel this air. And we don't feel it. Come on, Sivav is going to get to explain what does it mean. But Be'etzim, it's here.
Is there the Aveda in Beis HaMikdash or the Aveda in Zman HaGolos? Sagt the Aveda in Beis HaMikdash?
Sagt Aveda in Beis HaMikdash. Was ist schön pale, wenn der Minion, also nimmst du, wenn er sei, was soll mehr sein, du? Sie sagt. Why? Because it's bleak vul. It's melchus adanavad. It's the air shalom mailam shachslim shein shaykh bei tzimtzum. It's impossible there should be a tzimtzum in this air. So it's impossible that we should lack. We should be missing it. We have time for another race. There's another taichin zayar in melchus adanavad shul greyus. Which this is a title of the grace that what the Sod Lumazeh, the Sod Mitzvah, which is speaking about the Sod of Lumazeh. Melech Sod Nevad Hu, Shamar Zekdushin Nevad is the Sod of Lumazeh. What's Melech Sod Nevad? That this Melech is Meshubet Sod of Lumazeh. Why? Also, Klippot Shlitais. Shleimar says the Rebbe, this pirish b'melch sod nevad b'la achri, or b'hemshich la pirish the melch sod nevad hula mal yusa. Why does he bring this after the pirish of melch sod nevad mal yusa? It's not. The whole maamar is going step and step higher and higher. He says, "Who kizeh sheyeshni the melch sod nevad l'greisa b'gdei shein the melch sod nevad mal yusa. I'm sure it's melch lo keser ti beifin na'li yeser." This is in the order that the Melech Lamal Yus should be on a higher level. Why did the Eibishter make Bechlal should be a Yiride? That Melech Sod Nevad L'Greise is in order that Melech Sod Nevad Lamal Yus should be in a higher way. What does this mean? Well, how can you have higher? Which can come some He's made even Zman HaGolos. He's here. He's always here. He's everywhere. Well, always, yeah. What's the advantage which is added in Amshach of Kesed through this descent of Melchusad Nevle Greisa, in regard to the Amshach which is before this descent, says the Aveda Beis Hamikdash, which is the highest level. There's an advantage even that Kesed, a higher Kesed is going to come through the Yidid of Melchusad Nevle Greisa. So the Rebbe says, Hu Sof Shebein Arech. It's such a sof, it's a sof shebein arech. It's bein arech to the way it would be without this. It's so much so that the Gabi the Amshach Shel Achar Yideh, Amshach Shoyse Mekedim B'Chal Seder Yishtalshlis. The Eish Shel Amayim Seder Yishtalshlis is considered part of Seder Yishtalshlis. Gabi, this level, everything is Seder Yishtalshlis. Before this was the highest thing. This is Eish Shel Amayim Eir HaShayich Leilamis. It's also part of Seder Yishtalshlis. Bezo, and this is now we'll understand Zo Shom Razal. Now, since we're saying that this is so bein arech to the higher level that we're going to gain through the Yiride, now understand why Zo Shom Razal Ze Shol Ari B'Mazal Ari V'Echros Ariel Chulu Hu Almanas. Why did Nebuchadnezzar destroy the Beis Hamikdash and the Mazal and the Chedesh Ov? Is Almanas Yovi Ari B'Mazal Ari V'Yivne Ariel. Is why did he do it? In order that the Eibush should build the Beis Hamikdash in Mazal Ari in the Ov. If you do it, the Yovi Ari Zakodesh Baruch Hu D'Ksibi Ari Shog Mili Yiro Hu is Gal Sakes Shalamayel Mishtalshlis. We say, if you do it, what's the pshat? Yovi Ari, who's referring Ari Zakodesh Baruch Hu, referring to the Dag of Kesed. Ari Shog Mili Yiro. It's Pela Mitzis of Bittel and everything. Bittel Mitzis. En dacht nicht verfet. Yeah, and the granted was the Aliyah. Bald sagen. This is a clear thing that there's a Aliyah that's going to happen. But this is what we say in order. There should be the of his Galsa Kesed. That had to be the of all Ari V'Hecher Ariel. After in the Melchusad Nevle Lamal Yusoy Yagami Kedem, even though the Melchusad Nevle was already before, so you have to say that the fact that he undid the Beis Hamikdash, he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. And he wants to come to Vayter Yovi Ari Kesed, moving Sham. Shach Kesed Melech Lo Shoyse Mekedem L'Gabe Amshach Shel Achar Yideh B'Chlal Seder Yishtalshlis. And therefore, only now it's called Kesed. Only now it's L'Maylam Seder Yishtalshlis, because the whole Gilui that was there before is in of Seder Yishtalshlis. What's the beer? Zok the Rebbe. Have time over here? Yeah. My beer was Al Pi Yedua. Explain explanation to this according to what's known like this. Avedas tzadikim, kel gam amshach shadei aveda b'bchinas yosher. Aveda of tzadikim is yosher milamayla lamat. They're doing aveda. It's still a from milamayla lamat. Hein shagil shemer be'elam adevid tzadikim v'ikam mitzad lamayla. The revelation in the world that comes through aveda of tzadikim is mikam mitzad lamayla. That what the Eibishter reveals himself on his terms. Over there, she is zichvali gamba because the Eibishter at Eizishtel should be aveda of tzadikim, should be mitzvahs. The Eibishter gave the tools that we should do mitzvahs. So that whole thing is mitzad lamayla. It's not nothing to do the world mitzad atzmei. There she is zichvali gamba mata atzmei in order to elevate even the tachten, the mata himself. Zanasa beikir aidei aveis hatshuva. This happens mainly through the work of the aveda of tshuva. Why? Because that's the tachten. He created the situation. It's not something that the Eibishter gave him. He created situations that he had to do tshuva. Now we'll understand why. That the kes that was nimshach before the descent of golos. The amshach of keser, which happened before the descent in golos, the gabi the amshach after the descent, is seder shtalshlis. Why? Why? The ultimate in of Hechavish Seder Shtalshlis is not that it comes everywhere, in all times, but there's no higher and lower. The Kim Shavish was on a Baisi B'derech Klal V'Yitzat Tzadikim. Since David in the time of the Beis Hamikdash is David of Tzadikim B'derech Klal, because they have Gilul Lukus, Hasogus Lukus, and Hergish Lukus. The Amshach David is Yibikim Mitzad L'Maylo, and the why is the Amshach is only Mitzad L'Mayla, and the Gan L'Achre Amshach is Chilik B'Mayla L'Amata. What does it mean that the Amshach is through the Amshach through this Aved is Yibikim Mitzad L'Mayla? Well, because it's Herzichon that the Eibishter orchestrated it. That the Eibishter, the Hellion, is Mamshech this Amshach. So there's a chiluk between Maila Mata. Nimtzu Shamshach Zui b'chlal ha'ishtalshus. So this comes out that this Hamshach, even how great it is, says that there's a higher and lower. El Shabbat B'chinas Ishtalshus Gufe, but in Ishtalshus itself, Hamshach Shadav Termitzim Eir HaBlikvul. It's from Eir HaBlikvul, which there's an Ishtalshus. The Eir HaBlikvul, Shu b'chol mokim b'shov, in all times and all places, he's everywhere and anywhere and always. So therefore we said, since it's everywhere and always, so therefore the age comes through the Aveda Beis Hamikdash is going to come also in the time of Golus Knal Sefei. Although we're saying that it comes everywhere, but since it's Milamaylo Kim, but why is it everywhere? Because he's infinite and there's nowhere he can reach, and there's no time where he can't come to. No place, no time that he can't be there. But since it's only because of the air, so then the world has to elevate itself to feel it, as to have be not be in his grobkeit. In order that the world should feel the air, the air is here, but the world should feel it, the world has to have a shaykhs to the in of air. He's taka everywhere. Aber es hört sich nicht, because it's not mitzad the world, the world cannot feel it. Aber bei der Aveda shebizman hagolus, she b'derech klal Aveda sat shuve, but when you have the Aveda in zman hagolus, which that Aveda is not mitzad l'maylo, not the Eibush orchestrated. The world made the situation of tshuva, that's mitzad the tachten, amshochim imokum she'em b'chil d'maylo mata. Then there's no, the amshach comes to such a place, there's no alien on tachten. Amitzin the l'maylo m'seidish talshus. This is the ultimate l'maylo m'seidish talshus. There's no hellion on tachten, no hecher. Und niedriger, den Tachten allein, der am Schach nice sich vali gamma matatzim. This could come to the level, to the Tachten itself. This could penetrate and come and elevate even a Tachten itself, that it should also reach him, that he should be able to connect and feel it. That's the Avedis on our goal. This is Dafke going to give this Lamayel Mercedes Shtash, this Melchilo, this Kessel, Yahweh Aryeh, that is going to be in his Gal Dafke's on our goals.
Ich meine, das ist schmeiß Chilek Wort, das ist selber Wort.
Also was da im Zad Kelim?
Ist Kelim Zad Atzmus.
Zad Atzmus, ja. Aber der Weil, das ist doch schon und Kelim. Ist Kelim und Zad Atzmus. Und Atzmus, was ist das? Emes Masken Atzmus Gold Zad.
Mit der Weide von Bis Hamikdash ist ja gar man kommt noch mit Tum. Aber es darf sein, eine gewisse Edelkeit zu fühlen das. Eben nicht fühlt man das nicht, ja. Aber Platz, wo es Geuschig kauft von einem Kuppel, wie er sagt, ist die Scheich so leicht dort. Das ist doch kein Herz, was ich kann mir abgesehen, das sicher. Ich meine, das...
Aber geht noch weiter, der Treppel. Ich will doch gehen noch tiefer. Ich darf mal gerne Ort für die nächste Madrege. Geht noch tiefer, geht weiter. Das ist der Weg hat Schuwe. Was der Rebst hat eingestellt in der Welt, das soll sein im Kippur. Noch Chamisches und Tuba, noch sein. Sein. Sagt nur, als wie bald, der kommt mit Zad Die Welt kannst du nicht fühlen.
Wie zu fühlen das? Bei der alle 50, ganz sehr.
Man nimmt zu behelmen, man mehr begelies. Da. Rein so.
Ist da mit du.
Da. Nicht die Welt allein. Ja, nicht mehr. Jetzt.
Ist bekannt, das sehen gibt es normal, aber.
Aber das gesagt, ja. Hey, der Lehrer ist schon mal.
Zu viel das ist eine Edelkeit. Das hat der Wort. Aber mit der Arzt.
Aber endlich zu, na ist sich quali gamba mata atzme. Ist ali.
Der Arzt, was ich meine Mato, ist a viel Amerike Kehle, wird Kehle mit der Alter für die.
Nicht wird Kehle wie steht. Da wäre Noise, da. Sich quali.
Was mit der Sichuch? Das Sichuch
nicht, dass wird Sichuch, also wird, bleibt da Mathe, dann wird Sichuch. Das ist nicht klar. Das Wort, das ist doch nicht, wo er kann